I'm interested in your anxiety journey. How are you now? My low-level anxiety is increasing, and I'm worried I might have panic attacks again. Oh, that's a good question. It's something I'd like talking about, but it's late. But I'll still talk about it because it's a topic that I find, I care about, and it's difficult. So I got burnt out 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Oh my goodness, yeah, it's almost 6 years ago now. And what had happened was that we changed our bed, and I stopped sleeping. I have 3 hernia discs in my neck that make it very difficult for me to sleep sometimes. And so I stopped sleeping. I slept 3 to 5 hours per night for 9 months. We got it around Christmas, and in November I just crashed, and I had gone through all those months and barely sleeping. I remember I was sitting like this. I could not stay awake. Meetings, I could not focus my mind. Everything was falling apart. And it just got worse and worse. And on top of that, we had a lot of personal stuff that happened. My father passed away. We moved to a new house. And I went from being a monastic to living together with a woman who, even though she was amazing, it's just like we're taking 2 people and trying to combine them. And me living as a monk was like, I was used to a very different lifestyle. So all of those things combined with lack of sleep it just crashed. And I had a panic attack. I still remember when I woke up and it was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna die. It was like my heart was pounding out of my chest, and I was palpating, and I literally felt like I was gonna die. Now, I've felt that feeling so many times in meditations. It was not really as bad as it probably could have been. It just took, I think, 15-20 minutes for me to calm it down. But we called the ambulance, and they came and checked, and I remember still there was an older man and a younger man, the ambulance crew, and the younger one was like, the older one's like, it's just a panic attack, let's go, like, this is just, we just wasted our time. The younger was like, are you okay? Like, yeah, I understand, this is what it is, and you should go see the doctor. So I went to see the doctor, and then I got on sick leave, and I said, I'll be back in 2 weeks. I don't want to be away for more than 2 weeks, because I worked with kids who had problematic absence from school and were really ill, like had lots of issues, and they needed stability for me to come back. And since I was really bad, then I couldn't do that, but I still wanted to do it. So eventually I just was on sick leave for a long time. And it went down and then went up, and I had lots of anxiety. I would wake up at night, I would feel someone's breaking into our house, the house is going to fall down, and like lots of general anxiety. And it just escalated, and my body just fell apart. I could not handle input of the senses. So I remember I was at a party with some friends, like a dinner with some friends, and there was music playing in the background, and I could not focus on listening to people talking. It was the music and the person talking to me. I couldn't process those 2 things. I could not drive while it was raining. I could not drive when it was dark and there was lights. I remember one time I was driving and it started snowing, and I just had to stop the car. So my senses were overwhelmed. Now that got really bad, and I needed to just sleep, and that was the problem. I couldn't sleep. I had my neck pain, but also on top of that, now since I was burnt out, I had cortisol in my body, so my body was constantly in a stress reaction, which caused the anxiety. And it just took a lot of time for me to see my limits. I think I've always been a person who loved doing things. I love talking to people. I love just throwing everything up and just going somewhere and doing something. Always interacting, having 10 projects at the same time, and all of a sudden I couldn't do that. I couldn't even do one thing. It was difficult for me to just start doing something, and then all the things started piling up, and it started getting really difficult. But I think, and then I got back to work, but I was not really well, and I got burnt out a second time because they tried to put me from working one-on-one and in smaller groups to putting me in a classroom, and I was like, there's just no way that's going to work. And just the thought of that just made me crash again. Fortunately, after that, I really said, okay, this is like enough. I need to really look into that. And I was lucky that I had a partner who could support me. We had a house that was not too expensive. We had 1 child, and she was so small that my fiancé could take care of her, and I could actually just relax. But there would be days when I would wake up. First thing I do is I woke up, I just went to sleep. I would sleep on the sofa or somewhere else where I could just get some kind of rest. So that was tough, but then gradually I came back, and a big part of it is because I'm assuming you want to know how I got better. And the first part is time. It just takes time. Second part is realizing that I'm broken, that I'm not the same person as I was before, and my mind cannot handle the kind of stimuli that I could before. So I am very much aware of when my nervous system is overloaded, because there is a physical damage to my nervous system. It doesn't function the way it did before. I put too much stress on it from lack of sleep and from the anxiety that I had to go through that. So I can't handle the kind of things a normal person can. And I'm okay with that. That's a big part of like the practice here also. We get okay with the distortion we have towards things. You're now feeling bad about feeling bad, which makes you feel bad, so you feel bad. It's just like kind of, yeah, you just add to it, kind of cake on cake, we call it in Sweden. So understanding your limitations, building up, and also finding that it's okay. What I find a lot of people do is that when they get burnt out or depressed, they kind of minimize their world and they make it very small. They, for a while, they say up lots of friends. They stop drinking. They stop eating meat. Usually they stop being in a relationship if they're like young and like having that stuff. I was obviously with my partner. I had no intention of doing that. But for a lot of people, they live in celibacy for a while because they're just, I can't take the dating and everything. It's too much. So they kind of scale down their life until it becomes a small part, and then they can handle. And when they can handle that part, they start adding things gradually until you can get more and you can actually have a functioning life again. So for me, I was there was a lot of positive circumstances that made me get through it. Part of it was that I had an amazing partner who could support me. And we had our economy in such a place that even though it was very tough, we could still make it. And we were able to continue living where we were. And I also live in Sweden, which is amazing. We have social welfare here that is incredible. So I got, while I was on sick leave, we get paid by the government to kind of get well again. And we get free doctors and everything. So I mean, it's just compared to if I would have lived in America, I honestly don't know what would have happened. That would have been tough. But I got through that and I got better. And then I was fortunate that I was working at the municipality, and my boss was very nice. He found a work so that I can work as a janitor instead, out in nature. And this, if you've seen my later videos with when I'm out in nature, that's my workplace. I mean, that's amazing. It's incredible. It's a beautiful space and I love being there. And I also get to work inside. So I have a job that is much calmer than the other one. Even though I miss working with people and helping students, I really felt I cared about the kids. I used to call them my kids, and everyone that I worked with is it's Martin's kids, because no one talked about their students as their kids. But for me, it was my kids. They were my children. Like I felt responsible for them. I cared for them. I wanted them to be well. And now many years later, it's very nice when I meet some of them, and see that they're well again, because they always felt bad. No one stops going to school because they're happy and feel enjoying. Like they stop going to school because they feel like shit and they have some kind of issue. So it went from just crashing down to like finding my way. A big part of it is just getting used to you not being you, to you being someone else, and accepting that it's okay, I can't handle this, and then you need to minimize your world. I know a lot of people go to one of the centers I talk highly of also is Plum Village in France. I saw quite a few people who would go there as lay people and live with the monks and nuns as lay people, meaning not ordaining, but as it's called lay people, like a civilian, a non-monk, a non-monastic. And they would just help out at the center, a very calm environment, and they would go there and they would come and they'd be broken, and then they got the energy and time they needed to heal again. So minimize it, then gradually start adding things until you feel comfortable with what you have, and then finding a lifestyle that works, and finding inside of you when you feel like it's too much. I still feel sometimes that, okay, this is too much. When I'm inside and with my kids and my fiance, I will very, very clearly say, okay, now it's too much. I can't handle the noises from everywhere. So I either put my earplugs in, tell the kids, okay, you need to be quiet. They listen, amazing. Often they don't. So then I'll ask my fiance, can you take over? Or I put my earplugs in and I'll try to, so like really, and not being ashamed of it. That's who I am. Like I'm very happy. I feel better now than I did before. I feel happier now than I did before. But I needed to go through that, and I'm happy still, though I am broken, and that's okay. And I'm not broken to the degree that I can't function. My system is not the way it was before, and that's okay. So it will get better, and you can heal from it. It's just circumstances take time, and just be patient. Accept that you'll have some time where life won't be the way you expect it to be, and do anything you can to just survive through that. If you have a social network that can help you, that's almost a necessity. Very nice, but you can also do it without. But then just give away the things that don't work. Say up relationships with friends who just take energy. Things that don't work. Don't get too caught up in spirituality. Something that many people do. I mean, if you're into that, if you're here, very likely are. So, like, I recommend you don't get too caught up on it. Still keep your feet planted on the ground, and don't kind of drift off there too much. Yeah, I hope that gives you some kind of perspective for how it worked out for me. And now afterwards, I would say that I'm a softer person, I'm a kinder person, I'm a more aware person. I have much more understanding for people who are mentally ill, like could never have had before. And I feel genuinely happier now than I did before, because that's part of the practice and going through that. All of it goes together, you know. It does.